Before we get into the video, could everyone please subscribe to my Endless Diary Tales channel? Thank you so much. I bet my entire fortune pulling Marcus back from the brink of bankruptcy. He passionately kissed me. Once the acquisition is complete, I'll let the whole world know you are my Mrs. Shin. 2 years later at the celebration banquet, I arrived early wearing the wedding ring he designed for me. But I saw him on one knee proposing to Nathaniel's sister, his sworn enemy. The girl nodded, her face flushed with shyness, and the whole hall erupted in applause. If it weren't for Ms. Ivy, how could the Vance and Shin families have broken the ice? This acquisition wouldn't have been so smooth. Mr. Marcus and Ms. Ivy are truly a perfect match, destined for each other until someone noticed me standing in the shadows. The smile on Marcus's face abruptly froze, his arm gently wrapped around Ivy's shoulder, his gaze never leaving her. Grace, your timing is perfect. It saves me from having to find another time to tell you. Without you, there would be no Marcus today. I will always compensate you for that debt of gratitude in other ways, but marriage should be something pure, something only Ivy can give. Everyone thought I would lose control, question him, or leverage past favors. However, I simply curved my lips into a smile and clapped softly once, then again. I slipped the wedding ring off my finger and placed it on Ivy's ring finger. Congratulations. Then right there I dialed Marcus' sworn enemy. Alliance marriage, a pragmatic alliance. I'll bring 30% of the shares as a dowry. Marcus' company was on the verge of liquidation during the time I was at odds with my family. All my assets were frozen. In the end, I had no choice but to sell all the jewelry my mother left me and transfer the money to his account. That day he called me late at night. His voice. Grace, once I get back on my feet, I will marry you in grand style. 3 years. I accompanied him to business engagements, mediated on his behalf. All the alcohol he couldn't drink I drank for him, and all the contracts he couldn't close, I negotiated with him until dawn. I even shielded him from creditors. The situation gradually improved. On the day Marcus' acquisition of a third channel partner was expected to succeed, he held me by the waist and confessed deeply. My brilliant strategist, what would I do without you? I turned in his arms, my fingertip tracing his chest. Just remember that. A month later today, with the dust settled, I secretly flew back from overseas to attend the celebration banquet. My ring finger already bore the wedding ring. I arrived 2 hours early, planning to surprise him. The banquet hall was empty and quiet. The lighting technician gave me an okay sign. Soon after, he whispered, Miss Grace, Mr. Marcus' car has arrived in the parking garage. Shall we start the light sequence now? I took a deep breath, feeling a little nervous. I'll do it. My fingertip reached for the master switch that activated the main lights. Just 1 second before I pressed it, the side door opened. Marcus stepped in, protecting a girl beside him. She was wearing flat shoes, small and lovely. One hand was clasped tightly in his, the other unconsciously shielding her abdomen. The assistant was about to rush out to alert Marcus. Miss Grace, I'll go right away. I raised my hand, cutting off all her movements. My gaze fell on their clasped hands. How long had it been since we last met? 3 months. I couldn't remember. I had pushed through the toughest acquisition case for him over there. Someone as sensitive to cold as I am. I practically lived in the snowy nights of Europe. At that time, he said with concern, come back and let me warm you up. So that's it. This was his way of warming me up. Friends and shareholders arrived one after another. The clamor gradually drowned out the silence in the corner. I withdrew my gaze. I calmly instructed the hotel manager waiting behind me. Start normally. All procedures, not one change. 2 music tracks started playing. Festive wedding music as I had arranged, perfectly suited for the occasion. Lights sparkled, and the champagne tower was elegantly rolled out by waiters. In the center of the crowd, he smiled, accepting congratulations from everyone. The girl remained protected by his side until the MC handed him the microphone, announcing a surprise. He held the microphone, his gaze sweeping across the entire hall. Finally, he knelt down before the girl, Ivy, his voice clear and solemn. Marry me. I stood beneath the brightest light, looking down quietly at the wedding ring on my ring finger, the one he designed himself. My family had opposed him and me back then, causing a huge uproar. This ring, on the night I was kicked out of my home, he meticulously crafted under the moonlight. He said, "You are the only one for me in this life." Later, when he was no longer short of money, he added diamonds to the ring setting. It seemed to carry deep meaning, but it still didn't stop him from falling in love with someone else. David, Marcus's assistant, saw me first from behind him. The file folder in his hand dropped to the floor with a thud. The sound startled Marcus. He looked up, his gaze traversing half the banquet hall, precisely meeting mine. The smile on his face instantly froze. In those eyes once burning with promises for me, a flicker of panic flashed. The next second, it was covered by a nearly ruthless calm. He didn't even let go of Ivy's hand. I remembered he also stubbornly refused to let go of me once. At that time, under family pressure, I ended things with him in an abrupt breakup. He waited all night outside my estate in the pouring rain just to say, "Grace, trust me, I won't let you lose." I didn't lose. I was just kicked out of the game. 1 second. 2 seconds. Silence, like an invisible pressure, permeated the air until over there, the girl shyly extended her hand. "I do." Marcus came back to himself and gently put the ring on her finger. When he looked up, he kissed her first, then said to me, "Grace, you really made it for my big day. Let me introduce you. This is Ivy, my fiancée." Ivy leaned into his arms, her face flushed with happiness. I still didn't speak. Marcus' lips moved as if wanting to explain something. I gently raised my hand, cutting off his words. No explanation needed. Explanations are the cheapest things. Our friends who knew us well looked uncomfortable. They looked at me, then at Marcus. Between shock and bewilderment, they chose to remain silent. Who would have thought that even Marcus, the hopeless romantic, couldn't avoid the kick out the ladder once you've reached the top trope? David, who knew our relationship best, looked pale. He awkwardly urged me, "Miss Grace, look, this is all a misunderstanding. Everyone calm down." Marcus stared into my eyes. His tone softened with an almost coaxing quality. "Grace, don't make a scene. I know you're angry. We can talk in private. Don't try to get my attention this way." He paused, then gave Ivy a tender look. "Ivy, and my marriage is set, but I won't treat you unfairly. A subsidiary of Shun or any project you like, I can—" "Mr. Marcus," I calmly interrupted him, pulling my hand away. "Business matters. My assistant will contact David tomorrow to schedule a time." I smoothed out the sleeve he had creased. "As for personal matters," I looked up, my gaze sweeping over him and Ivy beside him. "Is there anything personal left between us?" Marcus was choked by my words, his face turning grim. Ivy gently leaned into his arms, whispering, "Marcus, let it go. Miss Grace is still upset." I ignored them. Amidst a sea of complex and unreadable gazes, I walked straight towards the banquet hall exit. Behind me, I heard Marcus's conceding voice, "Let her calm down." I was indeed calm. I didn't go crazy, nor did I seek revenge. I simply moved back into the penthouse apartment my father had taken back. I worked normally, attended meetings, and reviewed reports. Marcus tried to contact me several times. Calls were diverted to my assistant. Messages were read but not replied to. He sent gifts. Expensive jewelry, limited edition bags. Even a letter of intent for a share transfer of a promising subsidiary under Shun. My assistant cautiously asked how to handle them. I told her to return them untouched. He wanted to use these things to repay that bowl of hot porridge on a snowy night years ago. To put a price on the hard bones I helped him chew through. To thank me for my unwavering support. But he forgot. I wasn't with him from the start for these things. What I wanted he could afford to give back then, but now he never could. Since he couldn't give it, everything else was just unnecessary noise. I didn't need it. Gradually, he probably also accepted the idea that I was just throwing a tantrum. After all, in everyone's eyes, I was at best a rich girl who was not quite at the top, but better than average, and I had already fallen out with my family. My greatest value was having once assisted him, the billionaire CEO. Leaving him now would be akin to having nothing. 2 months after the celebration banquet turned into an engagement party, the news of Marcus and Ivy's marriage was officially released. A beautiful couple, a match made in heaven. The reports described in detail how gentle and considerate Ivy was, how she helped resolve years of animosity between the Vance and Shin families, and facilitated their cooperation. Every line implied. This was the woman who truly belonged by Marcus's side, the one who could empower him. My name was not mentioned at all, as if those 3 years had never existed. In the vibrant videos, Marcus looked dashing and spirited. Unlike his previous solitary demeanor, he was now openly accompanied by his fiancée, Ivy. Their fingers intertwined, deeply in love. He seemed to have completely moved on from that pragmatic alliance of the past. I calmly turned off the television. Suddenly, I remembered a photo album I had left at the estate market, one I once shared. I went back. 2 months later, our slippers were still neatly arranged by the entrance. The housekeeper greeted me warmly. Everything was unchanged, yet everything had changed. I went straight upstairs. Just as I put my things in my bag, engine sounds came from downstairs. Soon Marcus appeared at the study door. He looked like he had rushed straight from work, his suit jacket draped over his arm. He stared at the bag in my hand, slightly out of breath. "Have you been back to your family home recently?" I didn't answer him. I continued to zip up my bag. "Grace," he stepped in, placing a hand firmly on my bag. "Besides marriage, I can give you anything. You don't have to leave. This won't be Ivy and my marital home." I stopped and looked at him. "Don't have to leave?" I softly repeated. "Then under what identity would I stay? Your hidden ex-girlfriend or your invisible business partner?" His Adam's apple bobbed between us. "There's no need to be so precise." "There is." I removed his hand, slinging the bag over my shoulder. "Mr. Marcus, once the accounts are settled, we'll owe each other nothing." I walked towards the door. As I brushed past him, he suddenly grabbed my arm. "Then tell me." His voice was filled with suppressed anger. "What exactly is going on between you and Nathaniel? 3 years. I know you hated him too, but I never knew he could answer your cell phone instantly. Are you so eager to find a new partner? Or was it all along you were?" I stopped turning my head. I looked at him calmly. "Marcus." I called his name, my voice very soft. "Let go." The strength in his fingers faltered slightly. He had anticipated my anger, explanations, or a cold laugh, but he never expected nothing. That anger was like hitting a silent wall. He knew what kind of person I was. Once a line was crossed, there was no turning back. I could see the surrender in his eyes, and he was about to lean closer when a soft but sudden voice sounded from the doorway. "Marcus, I didn't see you at the office, so you really are here. I had such trouble finding you. Miss Grace is here too." The man's grip on me loosened, and I took the opportunity to break free. "I'm leaving." Ivy's voice was subtly sharp. "Miss Grace, leave the keys. After all, you're an old friend and we welcome you to visit us anytime," she said, her gaze shifting to Marcus's face, her smile deepening. "Marcus, when I came here last year, I thought this place had such wonderful sunlight, so warm and bright. Our marital home will be here from now on." "Okay." Marcus's face instantly turned extremely grim. "Huh. Last year, their entanglement was much earlier than I had thought. Fortunately, it didn't matter anymore." I calmly placed the keys on the desk and left downstairs without a backward glance. 4. A few days later at a business reception, Marcus and I met again. He was with Ivy, surrounded by admirers. I sat in a relatively quiet corner. Across from me, Nathaniel sat, long legs crossed, leaning back on the velvet sofa. His black suit jacket was draped beside him. His white shirt accentuated his broad shoulders and narrow waist, radiating a commanding presence. He twirled a cigarette between his fingers, unlit. "Everything is ready, just waiting for the person." Then he leaned slightly closer, speaking in a voice only we could hear. "Miss Grace, when will you honor me with a visit to our new home?" No sooner had he finished speaking than a shadow fell over us. Marcus and Ivy strode to our table. "Nathaniel, what do you mean?" Ivy timidly interjected. "Nathaniel, why are you here? And with Miss Grace?" Nathaniel ignored her. His gaze towards Marcus held his usual undisguised challenge. "Nothing," he smiled subtly. "Just discussing a collaboration with Miss Grace." "Collaboration?" Marcus' tone was sarcastic. "Since when does Nathaniel have to stoop so low as to discuss collaboration with my assistant?" I sipped my champagne. I didn't speak. Even now, he still regarded me as his insignificant assistant. Ivy gently tugged Marcus's sleeve, softly trying to smooth things over. Marcus, don't be like that. It might just be a small, ordinary project, right? Her words sounded like appeasement, but in reality, they were merely hinting that my status was unworthy of discussing collaboration on equal footing with Nathaniel. Nathaniel scoffed, not responding. He turned to me, his gaze holding a possessive intensity. Ordinary project? His tone was lazy, yet every word was clear. Ms. Grace and I are discussing a long-term, in-depth, exclusive strategic partnership. His gaze swept over Marcus's instantly tense face. Then he added, the kind that lasts a lifetime. A vein throbbed on Marcus' forehead. He stepped forward, trying to bypass Nathaniel's presence to speak only with me. Grabbing my wrist, he attempted to pull me away. Nathaniel moved faster. He didn't even stand up, just raised his hand. He precisely blocked Marcus's outstretched hand. His movement was casual yet powerfully defensive. Mr. Marcus. Nathaniel's voice grew colder. Mind your manners. Ms. Grace is now my person. The air instantly solidified. Subtle glances swept over us. Marcus's hand froze in midair. He looked at me, still silent and calm, his eyes swirling with an offended loss of control. Your person. He practically spat the words through clenched teeth. Nathaniel didn't look at him anymore. He picked up the lighter from the table, clicked it on, and lit the cigarette he'd been fiddling with. He took a drag, slowly exhaling smoke. Behind the hazy smoke, his deep gaze rested on me. Otherwise, his voice was not loud but carried an almost savage certainty. Is she still yours? 5. Marcus's face alternated between pale and ashen. He forcibly suppressed his surging anger. Grace. His voice deepened, carrying an almost earnest warning. You don't understand him. Don't be foolish. He stepped half a pace forward, trying to avoid Nathaniel's presence and speak only with me. The family has already arranged an alliance marriage for him. He absolutely won't marry you. You and I both know what kind of person he is. You witnessed firsthand how he gradually pushed me to the brink of bankruptcy. How dirty and ruthless his tactics were. Have you forgotten how we struggled through that time? His voice carried the urgency of disappointment. Are you getting involved with him now? Playing with fire. He'll only use you, chew you up and spit you out. I knew. Of course I knew all that. Those cold data points, those fatal interceptions. It was nothing more than that man's petty actions because he was unhappy. I had rejected our proposed alliance marriage but simply didn't understand how much leeway that man had given to allow Shen to survive and be scathed. In the past, Marcus and I were on the same side, keeping a respectful distance from Nathaniel, that formidable figure. But now, before I could speak, Nathaniel let out a low chuckle. He flicked the ash from his cigarette. Mr. Marcus, rehashing old scores is so uninteresting. Speaking of which, I should thank you for refusing to let go of those projects back then. Otherwise, I wouldn't have had the chance to pick up the pieces, would I? He said this, looking at Marcus, but his peripheral vision swept over me. Marcus's fists clenched suddenly. Nathaniel was quick to offer a disingenuous congratulations. I hear Mr. Marcus and my sister have set a wedding date. The 15th of next month, a truly auspicious day. He raised his glass, indicating a pale ivy. Congratulations, he smirked. Mr. Marcus, you'll need to hold on tight to this booze from the Vance family. These words were like a silent sucker punch, hitting hard where it hurt. All his questions and warnings were instantly choked back. Yes, the family's daughter stood beside him. The dirty and ruthless Nathaniel in his words. Was I, this brother, the man he hated to the core, yet had to greet with a smile? The surrounding crowd fell completely silent. Even their breathing softened. I met Marcus's gaze, slowly raising my glass. I already offered my congratulations last time, I said calmly. No need to repeat them. Grace, his voice held a hint of difficulty. Ivy, at the opportune moment, gently pulled his arm. Marcus, I'm not feeling well. Can we go over there? It was like a rescue and even more like a declaration of ownership. Nathaniel enjoyed Marcus' flustered departure. After a few seconds, he slowly withdrew his gaze. He turned his head, leaning closer to me, asking in a voice only we could hear. Then our collaboration is set for? I smiled. The 15th of next month. How about that? 6. The business reception finally ended. I picked up my clutch bag, avoiding the various lingering gazes, and walked towards the terrace. I wanted to clear my head before leaving. The night breeze was cool. As I approached the column, I heard suppressed sobs. My brother used to deal with you so harshly, and she knew all about it. She always avoided him before. Now she's suddenly clinging to him. Marcus, my brother values profit above all else. He would never marry someone from an unequal background. Does she have some agenda? Is she trying to embarrass me? Or is she trying to get revenge on you? Ivy, don't talk nonsense. Marcus's voice was weary. You don't know Grace. She wouldn't stoop to such things. But you saw her just now the way she was. She's clearly leveraging past favors to seduce my brother. She just wants both of us to suffer. I scoffed. I didn't stop, walking straight past them, as if I heard nothing. Ivy's crying stopped abruptly, as if she'd been choked. Marcus abruptly looked up at me. His eyes filled with extreme complexity. There was guilt, embarrassment, and a hint of undisguised expectation, expecting me to explain or to erupt, but I just gave them a fleeting glance. Grace. Marcus finally couldn't hold back. He pulled free of Ivy's hand and caught up to me in 2 steps, blocking my path. Let's talk. His tone held a final demand. Just 5 minutes. I stopped, finally looking him directly in the eye. Talk about what? I asked. Talk about how dangerous Nathaniel is. Talk about whether I knew how he ruined you back then. I stated calmly. I knew. Every short-selling report, every intercepted project, even the day your bank account was frozen, I knew it all. Marcus' pupils constricted, as if he hadn't expected me to so directly tear open the past. Then why did I still cooperate with him? I finished his sentence for him, smiling faintly. Because now his danger, his ruthlessness isn't aimed at me anymore. Mr. Marcus, you taught me that in business there are no permanent enemies, only permanent interests. Now Nathaniel's and my interests are aligned. Marcus looked as if he had been punched hard, staggering back half a step, his face pale. So you're going to get revenge on me this way? Even sacrificing yourself. Revenge. I repeated the word, finding it somewhat amusing. You overestimate yourself. Every decision I make is purely for myself. With that, I walked around him and continued forward. Ivy stood not far away, watching, biting her lip. The gentleness in her eyes finally disappeared, replaced only by resentment. I kept my gaze straight ahead. At the hotel entrance, Nathaniel's car silently glided to a stop in front of me. The car window lowered, his arm casually resting on the sill, a cigarette between his fingers, looking at Marcus and Ivy chasing after me. Done talking? He asked. I opened the car door and got into the passenger seat. Yes. The car merged into traffic. In the rearview mirror, Marcus' figure stood frozen beneath the hotel's dazzling lights, growing smaller and smaller. Inside the car, there was only the faint hum of the air conditioning. Nathaniel suddenly spoke, breaking the silence. The 15th of next month. Is that too soon? I watched the fleeting lights outside the window. Are you scared? He chuckled softly. A little scared you'll regret it. I won't, I replied without a moment's hesitation. He said no more, focusing on driving. His side profile was sharp, his jawline taut. This man, dangerous and unpredictable, was the type I would never have associated with in the past. But now he was the most suitable ally I had chosen. As for the future, I looked out the window. Who knows what the future holds? 7. My father, William, returned from Switzerland. The first thing he did was call me into his study. On the mahogany desk lay a copy of the preliminary agreement drafted by Nathaniel and me. His face showed undisguised admiration. Excellent. This is my daughter Grace. Daring to let go, daring to fight. He personally poured 2 glasses of whiskey, pushing one towards me. This young man, Nathaniel, is a wolf, ruthless and ambitious. You chose well. I took the drink but didn't drink it. What about Ivy? I asked directly. She seems very afraid of Nathaniel. Not like ordinary siblings. My father scoffed at my words, tilting his head back to finish his whiskey in one gulp. Siblings. Ivy was brought in by his father's later wife. She doesn't have a drop of Vance blood. Nathaniel never gave those two a second glance since he was a child. He set down his glass, his eyes sharp. What? Did she give you trouble? No, I shook my head, just confirming that vague suspicion in my heart had finally settled. No wonder Nathaniel had no qualms about using Ivy for an alliance marriage, even relishing it. Back then, he personally came to propose to you and you actually refused. I was so disappointed in you. Marcus may make a bit of money, but he's not worth abandoning your past for. Now that it's all over, it's for the best. What sets his mind to? No one could pull him back since he's agreed to you. No one in the Vance family would dare say no. My father leaned forward, lowering his voice. Girl, this is a risky move, but a brilliant one. Go for it. The Vance family will always be your backing. It was late when I returned to my apartment. The elevator door opened. The motion sensor light in the hallway came on, illuminating the tall figure leaning against my doorframe. Marcus looked up, holding a black velvet jewelry box. He looked like he had been waiting there for a long time. A faint scent of alcohol permeated the air. Grace, let's talk. My gaze swept over the box. My heart gave a sudden wrench, then quickly turned to ice. That was my most unwilling old wound. The desire I had given up on in my most desperate moments. What do you want to say? He didn't answer immediately, just held the jewelry box forward. I found them, he began, each word sounding forced. Some had gone to overseas auction houses. It took some effort. I didn't take it, just looked at him without speaking. I know your Grace family is quite wealthy, but compared to the Vance family. He paused, his gaze heavily on me. You're from a lesser family. Don't be Nathaniel's pawn. You can't afford to play that game. So I raised an eyebrow. Mr. Marcus blocking my door late at night. Is this to show off your wealth and deliver this profound opinion? His jawline tensed. The alcohol made him more transparent than usual. The pain was clearly written on his face. Nathaniel and his fiancée's wedding is set. He stared at me, each word like a stone hitting the ground. Grace, the wedding announcement for the 15th of next month has already been made public. The air solidified for a few seconds. A wave of absurdity swept over me. He didn't know that the Grace he spoke of as Nathaniel's intended, and the Grace standing before him were one and the same person. I was my father's eldest daughter, groomed to be the successor. To protect me, I had always used my mother's surname. So I repeated, my tone lightly. What does that have to do with me? What does it have to do with my collaboration with Nathaniel? Perhaps fueled by alcohol, Marcus suddenly took a step forward. Shadow and the scent of alcohol enveloped me. Grace. He grabbed my hand. How long are you going to keep pretending? Nathaniel gives you a vague hope. He makes you think you can climb the social ladder. But in reality, he's turning around and marrying someone else. Someone from a matching background. My wrist ached from his grip. The jewelry box trembled slightly in his other hand. Did he promise you something? Resources, connections, or darkness turned in his eyes. A darkness I couldn't comprehend. What if I could give you the same things? Let go, Marcus. I didn't want to get tangled with him. I won't let go. He stubbornly tightened his grip, pulling me closer, his voice on the verge of breaking. Unless you promise me you'll stop seeing him. Who do you think you are? I tried forcefully to shake him off, but it was futile. My affairs are none of your business. I'm making them my business. His eyes were terrifyingly red. Grace. He suddenly lowered his head, his forehead almost touching mine. Don't go. Don't let yourself become a pawn in their game. You're not meant for that. His breath mixed with alcohol warmly brushed my face, carrying a fractured plea. In that instant I almost softened. Almost. But the next second he uttered the words that completely trampled all our past. If you absolutely have to follow someone without a name or status, why can't that person be me? All emotions instantly froze, leaving only icy fury. I scoffed aloud. To keep me around as a kept woman? Marcus, have you asked Ivy? He stiffened abruptly. The next second, he pulled out a broken smile, his tone both wretched and self-deprecating. Yes, I slept with her. He forced out a smile uglier than a cry fueled by alcohol. The dirty, sordid details were laid bare. A one-night stand. She got pregnant. I couldn't just abandon her. I'm a bastard. I know. His voice dropped, then abruptly rose, filled with accusation. But whose fault was that? Because when I went to Europe to find you, I saw you with that blonde man laughing so happily. That day I asked you what you did. And what did you say? Huh. You said you stayed cooped up in the hotel that day. Grace. His eyes were wounded. We betrayed each other, didn't we? His words were like a saw tearing at my heart back and forth. Disgust and anger intertwined and surged within me. So that was it. Beneath his seemingly affectionate reluctance and attempts to win me back lay such filth and self-righteous resentment. He was the one who strayed, yet he wanted to blame my disloyalty. I looked at the man I had once been so devoted to. Are you finished? My voice was as cold as ice. What did you think I was doing with those foreigners that day? It was for your final acquisition, that old pervert. I had to stomach his groping and mediate for ages before I closed the deal. I decided not to mention it because I didn't want you to worry. And you think your smooth acquisition domestically was all thanks to Ivy's undue influence? Marcus, you're not just blind, you're heartless too. I used all my strength to yank my hand away from his. Caught off guard, he stumbled, looking at me in shock. After creating some distance, I calmly smoothed down my sleeve. Thank you, Mr. Marcus, for helping me retrieve these items. I looked at the black velvet jewelry box. How much did it cost? I'll transfer the money to you. His pupils constricted as if my words had pierced him. I wasn't trying to, or I cut him off, raising my eyes to meet his gaze. Does Mr. Marcus want some other form of compensation? After all, it clearly took a lot of effort on your part. The last flicker of light in his eyes slowly died out. Finally, only ash and stillness remained. He looked at me for a long time, so long that the motion sensor lights in the hallway dimmed. In the dark, I heard him let out a soft, almost imperceptible laugh. Fine, he said. When the lights brightened again, he had reverted to that almost indifferent calm. He gently placed the black velvet jewelry box on the low cabinet by the door. Return to its rightful owner, he said in a low voice, utterly calm. No need to thank me. With that, he gave me a deep, unreadable look. His gaze was so complex I couldn't decipher it. Then he turned. Without another word, he walked straight to the elevator lobby. His footsteps echoed in the empty corridor, growing fainter and fainter. I stood rooted to the spot. Slowly, I lowered my head, my gaze falling on the black velvet jewelry box. The jewelry I had sold lay quietly inside. Tears welled up uncontrollably. I didn't know what I was crying for hurtful truths, for the emotional relief of my mother's jewelry being returned, or for my own chaotic situation, perhaps all of it. I took a deep breath and wiped the tears from my face. I was no one's doll. Neither could Marcus easily define me. Taking out my cell phone, I dialed Nathaniel's number. The phone rang only twice before it was answered. Grace, the background noise on his end was a bit loud, but it quickly quieted as if he'd moved to a secluded spot. His voice, as always, carried a hint of lazy amusement. Thinking of me this late, I gripped my cell phone, my voice so calm it surprised even myself. Nathaniel. My father wants to meet you. When are you free? The next day, in the pre-booked private dining room, Nathaniel arrived 10 minutes before the appointed time. When I pushed the door open, he was standing by the window, admiring the night view, his silhouette tall and distinguished. He turned immediately at the sound. His gaze held a hint of unmistakable scrutiny. And surprise, I thought. We weren't at the St. Gee, were we needed to involve our elders yet? He paused, then added, At least you hadn't given me that signal. A humorless smile curved my lips. Mr. Nathaniel, with news of your marriage to Miss Grace on the 15th of next month spread all over town, why are you still pretending to be clueless in front of me? He suddenly chuckled. He walked over unhurriedly, pulled out the chair opposite me and sat down. His nose was almost touching mine, emanating a fatal allure and absolute certainty. So you're so eager for your father-in-law to meet me. Are you really serious about formalizing our relationship? You think I'm joking. Otherwise, he was uncharacteristically uncertain. Nathaniel, I said, my voice low, my breath brushing against his slightly parted lips. Do you think Grace's time is meant for jokes with you? The tie tightened between my fingers, forcing his head further down. His apple bobbed violently, all doubt and uncertainty utterly crushed in that moment. Only a fierce possessiveness remained. "Good," he rasped, then abruptly lowered his head to capture my lips. "As you wish, ahem ahem ahem." Outside the door, my father's deliberate cough abruptly broke the silence. It carried a hint of unmistakable awkwardness. Nathaniel's body instantly stiffened. Before pulling away, he bit my lower lip. Not too hard, not too soft. He slowly straightened up, casually wiping the corner of his mouth with his thumb. When he turned to face the door, his face already wore an impeccable smile, perfectly respectful. "Mr. William," he said, his voice regaining its composure, as if the forceful man from moments ago hadn't been him at all. "You've arrived 11. My father stood at the doorway, his gaze sweeping back and forth between Nathaniel and me. "It seems I've arrived at an inopportune moment." Nathaniel effortlessly pulled me to my feet. His arm wrapped around my waist with practiced ease, drawing me to his side. "You're joking, Mr. William," Nathaniel said with a candid smile. "Grace and I were just getting carried away in conversation. We were waiting for you to order the main course." The dinner appeared calm on the surface, but beneath strong undercurrents churned. Nathaniel's behavior in front of my father was nothing short of perfect, poised, respectful, and well-measured. Yet, under the cover of the tablecloth, he subtly brushed his knee against my leg. I internally groaned, realizing I was in trouble. All along, I had only wanted to find a suitable business partner who would satisfy my father. Now it seemed I was about to get myself entangled. The wedding date arrived in a flash. A double celebration was underway at the Vance. The scene was utterly lavish, filled with prominent guests. All eyes in the city were fixed on this event. According to tradition, the elder brother marries first. Nathaniel's bridal motorcade, a grand procession, picked me up from the family home in style. It then proceeded to the estate to complete the ceremony. Meanwhile, as Marcus's wedding car arrived at the Vance, ready to pick up his bride Ivy, I stood under the courtyard arcade, adorned in an opulent wedding gown, preparing for the next traditional ceremony. My vibrant red attire was dazzling. The moment Marcus stepped out of the car, his gaze precisely locked onto me. He was dressed in a groom's suit, his posture tall and upright, but there was little joy on his face. The instant he saw me, his entire body froze. A myriad of emotions flashed across his eyes: shock, bewilderment, followed by a surge of excitement. "Grace," he blurted out, his voice laced with a panicked protectiveness as he instinctively hurried towards me. "How could you be so foolish? If you try to crash the wedding now, the Vance family will never forgive you. Your feelings I understand. This isn't the place for you. Go back and wait for me." He thought this wedding gown was for him. He believed that after all this time, I still couldn't let him go, daring to disrupt a wedding at the Vance and attempt to steal the groom. He even spread his arms, trying to shield me, looking up as he announced loudly to the astonished Vance family members around us, "Everyone, it's all a misunderstanding. Please don't hold it against her. I'll make her leave immediately." This commotion caused an uproar among the guests. Ivy was just being escorted out by the wedding attendant. Though she was splendidly adorned, next to me, her attire immediately lost its luster. My own wedding gown, priceless and intricately embroidered, far surpassed the usual standards. It made her meticulously chosen outfit seem dull and ridiculous. Her face instantly turned ashen. "Grace, you shameless hussy. How dare you try to crash my wedding? Get out." It was the first time she had lost her composure so completely, and at her own bridal reception no less. Seeing I didn't move, she raised her hand to slap my face. My eyes hardened and I was about to act, but someone was faster than me. A large, distinctly boned hand accurately and mercilessly seized Ivy's descending wrist. She cried out in pain instantly. "Nathaniel! You!" Nathaniel didn't even glance at her, coldly flinging her away. "Are you manhandling my bride and shouting insults as if I, Nathaniel, am dead? Your bride?" The color instantly drained from Marcus' face. The smug satisfaction he'd shown moments before, believing he'd seen through my intentions, froze on his face. It transformed into extreme shock and absurdity. He watched as Nathaniel securely and tightly pulled me into his embrace. "Impossible. How could you?" His voice trembled and he could barely stand steady. Nathaniel didn't look at him. He leaned down, his lips almost brushing my earlobe in front of everyone. Yet his voice, sharp and cold, resonated throughout the entire gathering. Let everyone be clear. This is Grace, my lawfully wedded wife and the future mistress of the Vance family. Anyone who dares to disrespect her or slander her will be an enemy of the Vance family. His stern gaze first shot to a pale Ivy, especially you, Ivy. From now on, behave yourself and be Mrs. Marcus. Vance family matters are no concern of an outsider like you, and you have no right to lay a hand on my people. Ivy recoiled a step, her face ashen, terrified by the undisguised coldness and warning in his eyes. She never had any blood ties to the Vance family. All these years, she'd only been able to carry the title of Ms. Vance because Nathaniel hadn't bothered to object. Grace Marcus suddenly looked up. Your last name is Vance. You're William, the city's richest tycoon's only daughter. Why didn't you tell me sooner? I looked at him, suddenly finding it somewhat ludicrous. 3 years. He had never once pondered why an ordinary wealthy girl, someone who couldn't even break into the city's elite circles and was practically estranged from her family, could produce enough capital to save his entire fortune when he went bankrupt, or how she could open doors and channels that he, for the life of him, couldn't navigate. I used the prestigious name of William's only daughter to mediate for him and secure resources, all while mentally preparing to sever ties with my father. That experience alone was utterly repulsive. Who would have thought he'd then utter something about marriage needing to be simple and pure and brazenly place a ring on another woman's hand? I gave a small smile. Tell me, aren't you the one who couldn't stand anything but a pure marriage? If you knew I was William's daughter, would you have married me? I swept my gaze across the crowd, my expression unreadable. My apologies. Nathaniel and I are both pragmatic individuals. This marriage is far from a pragmatic alliance from top to bottom. I announced that the dowry will be increased. 30% of Vance shares will be added as my dowry. A tight discussion erupted. My heavens, Ms. Grace is truly extravagant. 30% of the Vance shares? That's practically half of the Vance family's wealth as a dowry for Mr. Nathaniel's marriage. What a deal! No wonder she's a daughter of one of the 4 prominent families. Who else in the city's elite circles could match such generosity? TSK. Now the Vance and Vance families are truly bound together. The future power dynamic. Marcus was stunned. He watched as I was held tightly in Nathaniel's embrace. He watched Nathaniel's undisguised protection and possessiveness towards me. He watched everything he had once coveted unfold before him in the cruelest way. The light in his eyes completely extinguished. Only endless regret, humiliation, and towering rage remained, but he couldn't utter a single word. The bridal reception's farce ultimately concluded with Nathaniel's absolute dominance. Grace, the man said, using my name seriously for the first time as we were ushered to the bridal suite. This act, I've seen it through with you. His warm palm caressed the back of my neck. Now, shall we truly test my real skills? I tilted my face up, smiling as I pressed my hand against his firm chest. Who said I was just acting? I leaned in, pressing my lips close to his ear, my breath soft and fragrant. Nathaniel, I'm serious. He had unreservedly transferred all the shares under his name to me as betrothal gifts. What were my dowry contributions in comparison? What is pure or impure in marriage anyway? It's simply a matter of give and take. After the city-shaking wedding, Marcus' life did not advance as expected through his marriage alliance. Due to her outburst during the bridal reception, Ivy was sanctioned by Nathaniel with swift and decisive action. She was effectively allocated out of the Vance family. Stripped of the Vance family's support, her accumulated insecurity and panic morphed entirely into a pathological need to control Marcus. Her former mask of innocent charm completely shattered. She became almost obsessive, checking up on him and interfering with all his plans. But the more she did so, the deeper Marcus' disgust grew. He had never truly loved Ivy. Their initial union was largely driven by mutual benefit and fleeting impulse. Now that the anticipated advantages had vanished, he couldn't even be bothered with superficial pleasantries. Having been spoiled since childhood, Ivy had never experienced such cold treatment. Constant arguments and growing resentment plagued the couple. She even lost the baby. Marcus began using company affairs as an excuse, returning home late every night or simply staying out. They were trapped in a marriage in name only, filled with mutual resentment, each consuming the other. Marcus might still be managing his company, but he had lost his most crucial opportunities and support. He could only drift, neither rising nor falling, within his established social circles. Meanwhile, Nathaniel and I, whose alliance marriage began with mutual benefit and calculation, steadily strengthened through our probing, clashes, and conquests. We were allies, husband and wife, and the most compatible adversaries in bed. Late at night he leaned in, biting my earlobe as he whispered, "Now the whole world knows Grace is mine." I returned his sentiment with equal intensity. "Remember, Nathaniel, you are mine too."